Welcome back to another episode of Hello Redlow. I'm your host, Terry Mullen, and I am so happy you're here today. I'm really excited for you to listen in to this episode and meet my guest, Wendi Knox. You're definitely going to want to listen to this more than one time. I felt like I was sitting at the feet of a wise teacher. She will lift you up, encourage you, and inspire you, and remind you that it is definitely never too late. So put on those headphones, go for a walk, sit back, and listen in.
Fabulous. Well, welcome everyone. I am so excited for you to meet my guest today. You are going to be in for such a treat. Her name is Wendi Knox. She is an author, artist, and self-described uplifter. I love that. In her past, she was the only female senior vice president creative director at one of the largest advertising agencies in Los Angeles. At the age of 50, she unexpectedly lost her job, and a miraculous encounter in her own backyard put Wendi on an unexpected path of reinvention. Now, this award-winning brand storyteller is helping women of all ages change the stories that they tell themselves through her own inspirational book, blog, classes, speeches, and private sessions. Wendi has been a regular contributor to Maria Shriver's Sunday paper, woohoo, I love that, and was featured on Rena Wilson's Voices of Strength series on the Huffington Post and interviewed on NPR. Please give a wonderful, warm welcome to Wendi Knox. Thank you for being here.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Terry.
And that is such a beautiful description of who you are. And when I heard you on another podcast, A Certain Age Pod, I was so intrigued. I heard your story and we have so much in common. Being midlife, trying to get this message out to women, I just jumped on Instagram and said, would you please be on my podcast? And you so graciously said yes. And I just am so excited about it. So thank you again for being here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I could feel your warm heart and spirit through the Instagram post. So.
Well, thank you. And tell us about your journey, because I think I shared with you, I immediately ordered your book, which is called Muck to Magic.
From Muck to Magic.
Oh, sorry, my apologies.
That's okay.
Your story, yes, From Muck to Magic. And I was so intrigued. Your artwork is beautiful. Your story is beautiful. So tell us a little bit about your midlife reinvention story and how that all came about.
Okay, well, like we said, I was the only female senior vice president at this big ad agency. I was kind of like Don Draper in Mad Men, but without the cigarettes or the martinis. And it was the kind of job I dreamed about when I was younger, but in my 40s, it started to look better than it felt. But I really needed the job because I had a little boy. I had parents that were ailing financially and health-wise. And I have a husband who is an entrepreneur, which I say is French for no health plan.
I love it.
We really needed my job. So at 50, I was shocked that this company I'd been part of when, at such a high level for like 12 years, quote, laid me off. They said it was layoffs, but honestly, it felt a lot like ageism and sexism because advertising is a very youth obsessed, male dominated world. And being a woman at 50 was no picnic. So anyway, I found myself spending a lot of time in my backyard crying and wondering what I was meant to do now. And I just was so upset and lost and desperate. So I said a prayer one day to the universe and I said, am I too old to reinvent myself? Please give me a sign. I'm big on asking for signs, but didn't expect this one. I went for a walk, and when I came home, there were hundreds of red dragonflies whirling and swirling over our outdoor umbrella in our backyard. I didn't have any water there. I'd never seen red dragonflies. I didn't know that they came in a mob. And I certainly didn't expect them to stay for 4 hours the first day and to come back 3 more days.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. I got a friend to come over to make sure I wasn't hallucinating, because they'd always disappear by the time my husband would come home. So I had to get to the bottom of this. So I did what any sane person would do, and I Googled dragonflies. And when I did, I was astonished to learn that they spend most of their lives crawling in the muck at the bottom of a pond. They stay down there for up to 4 years. They just look like these generic brown bugs, no wings, just creepy crawly bugs at the bottom of a pond. And while they're down there, they keep shedding their old skin and growing new skin until one day something urges them, calls them to crawl out of the pond onto a reed or a rock. And they're in the sunlight, their wings unfurl and they take off. And it turns out the whole time they were in the muck, they were growing their magical wings. And when I realized this, I said, oh my God, that's why they're coming to me. I'm a dragonfly. I'm getting my wings later in life. And I think they're telling me it's never too late to soar. And I was so moved by the beauty and the poetry of this, but that was only the beginning. Everywhere I went, I started seeing dragonflies in the craziest places. I lived in Los Angeles and I saw them on the 405 freeway, the 10 freeway, the 101 freeway, Sunset Boulevard, Hollywood Boulevard. One day I was walking down the street in Beverly Hills to go to the dentist, and there was a big fat red dragonfly. And I thought, oh my God, what's it doing here? Going shopping on Rodeo Drive, But finally, my husband and I were up in Ojai, California. It's an hour and a half out of LA on vacation. We live here now, but we were on vacation then, and we were walking across the lawn to go to lunch. And suddenly I looked up and there was another swarm of red dragonflies. And I said to my husband, who rolled his eyes, I said, okay, that is it. I know those dragonflies are after me. They're trying to recruit me. I think they know I'm a writer and a brand storyteller, and I think they want me to get their message out into the world. So that's what I'm doing now.
And as I'm listening to you, I know the story, and you and I've chatted before. I got emotional as you're telling this story. This is I did all over again. And it's such a beautiful story and such a powerful message. I relate to it. It resonates with me. And I know to my listeners as well, Wendi. And I will continue on, but your artwork is amazing too, because you're a beautiful artist as well. You did your own artwork in the book as well, correct?
I did. I call myself an intuitive artist. I'm not highly trained. I studied art history in college, but didn't do fine art. I just, it sounds a little woo-woo, but I set an intention to paint, like for my book, how do I paint fear? How do I paint self-doubt? How do I paint self-love? And the paintings, it's like they come through me from somewhere beyond me. And I think they're kind of whimsical, but they're also kind of emotional. And I think they happen when I get out of my head and into my heart. And that seems to be where they're created from. And I just allow the process. And I did my whole book without really a plan, but one by one, I set these intentions and the paintings came.
Wow, what a powerful message. And to think about where you were at age 50, and I can relate to this being midlife, working, feeling that ageism. And as I shared with you, I have 2 kids that are involved in advertising. I know how difficult that industry is. And for you to be at that level in and of itself as a senior vice president is so amazing. But then to land and find that you no longer had a job and to pick yourself up and start again is just powerful. It's really beautiful.
Well, it was interesting because my life in advertising, you have so much help. You have traffic people that keep you on schedule. You have people producing. I come up with the ideas with my partner, and then we'd have producers and editors and directors and junior, all kinds of support. And, now what I'm doing is usually me, myself, and I, although I get to meet great, women like you that are helping me get my message out, but it's not a linear path now. It's more, I feel like I follow what I call the golden breadcrumbs, like I respond, like if someone like you reaches out and if it feels right, okay, I'll do it. But it's not according to a marketing plan. It's sort of more of a soul-driven career at this point.
Oh, I love that. That's so well said. And I get that. That resonates with me as well. And it's kind of scary and beautiful all at the same time, isn't it?
Exactly. Scary, yes. And, fortunately, in the time since I lost my job, sort of the balance of financial power in our family changed. My husband really picked up his game, and there's sort of more fluidity there. And I'm enjoying not being quite as pressured as I was. One of my dreams was to wake up in the morning and go, okay, am I going to write today or paint or speak or do a workshop, and to have some choices, because for like almost 30 years of a career, I just felt more like a hamster on a wheel. It was a really nice, well-paying wheel, but it was intense. So this is such a blessing. And I think one of the gifts of being older is making choices, if you're lucky enough, but being able to know yourself and what feels right at a certain stage of your life.
Oh, that's so great. And to do it for you, right?
Yeah.
And to do it to bless for you now, the platform is to bless other women too.
Oh, completely. I mean, I feel so committed to, well, first of all, sharing this story, because I think it's uplifting and inspiring and gives hope and encouragement to all of us, but also other things that I'm working on. I just really feel that this world, there's so much muck in it. And I feel like women have the hearts and the gifts and the magic that this world needs. So I'm really, like you, on a quest to empower and inspire and lift up other women.
Beautiful. And tell everyone how old you were when you published your first book, because I think that's just incredible. I love it.
Well, after this experience, I felt like I really wanted to share what happened with me, but in a way that it would speak to other women. And I found myself in a lot of muck with some really difficult family situations. So I wasn't that creative. So it took me quite a while. But one day I got this inspiration, kind of like the dragonfly climbing out of the muck. I felt called out of my emotional muck to sit at my computer, and the words to this poem, which I say is sort of like a Dr. Seuss for adults poem. I'll just say the very beginning is, have you ever been stuck in the muck with the yuck and the guck that you thought, what the?
Oh, that's so good.
Muck. And it went from there. So all the words came to me, and then one by one, I took each line and I'd say a prayer and set an intention and do a painting for it. So that process took me a while. And then finding a publisher, because my book is not like other books. It's like people look at it and they go, oh, it's a children's book, but it really isn't. I purposely made it mostly a picture book because I feel like we're bombarded by words, and I wanted this book to go right to the heart and to be something that women could connect to at a more emotional level. So my book was not a book that every publisher was clamoring to get, but I was lucky enough to find one, and I finally got my book published when I was 65. And those dragonflies were right. It's never too late. So I had it published at 65. And I also had my first solo art show at 65. And the interesting thing about life is things don't unfold in the way we think they will. But the fact that I was a later bloomer as an author and an artist, I think is really good medicine for other women, because it tells you, if you've been spending most of your life taking care of everyone else and doing the shoulds and have tos of life, there's still time. There's still time to follow your heart and birth something else into this world.
Oh, that's all so good. And even me, as I'm listening to this, I'm going to go back after this episode airs and listen to what you just said, because there's so many golden magical nuggets in what you just said.
Oh.
And the very fact that you were 65, we all need to just celebrate that, Wendi. It's interesting, as I'm listening to you and I'm watching you, you have this calm energy. Like, there's all this.
You? Oh,
yes.
You should talk to my husband. He may not agree. Thank you for saying that.
No, I see it. Like, there's this drive and passion in you. I see that. And you have to have strong leadership to have the job that you had for all those years in a corporate situation. But yet there's this like strength, and maybe that's the wisdom that comes with you. And it's just everything you just said is so beautiful, and it's right what I think. And it's just such a great message for all of us to remember that it's definitely never too late. It's so inspiring. So thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. Well, there's so much bias in our culture and so many stereotypes, especially about aging women. And it's hard because I think many of us ingest, we take in the, I call it inner ageism. So we have voices in our heads saying, what's the matter with you? Why haven't you done this yet? You're too old, blah, blah, blah. And people make assumptions about age. My husband and I moved up here to Ojai, which has always been our happy place. And we finally get to live here. And when I moved here, it's a small, very creative community. And people would say, oh, you're moving to Ojai. Are you retiring? And it kind of bugged me, because I thought, oh my God, I must look really old. They think I'm retiring. Or I thought, God, that really annoys me, because I feel like I'm just getting started. So when people say that to me, I'm 68 now. So when people say, are you retiring? I say, no, I'm refiring. And that's something I'm really interested in for myself and for other women, is to change the stories we tell ourselves, because that's what the dragonflies did for me. They helped me go from the muck of I'm lost, now what, I'm over the hill, whatever, to the magic that was in that muck, and the hope and the inspiration that it's never too late. And now I'm really interested in helping women look at age and all those stereotypes and fears that come up about it, and to change that story. I wrote a piece a couple years ago that was in Maria Shriver's paper and on this blog called Girls Gone 50, this really great blog. And it was called Breaking Out of the Age Cage.
Oh, it's beautiful.
And that's what I'm really committed to now. And I'm working on a TED Talk on that topic to help women and myself remember that age is something that's made up, those numbers and what they mean. And there's old people that are 18 years old, and there's young people who are 98, depending on your attitude.
Right. The whole age cage thing, I think that is such another really powerful topic. I have experienced that. I think I shared that with you when I went back to work. Definitely feel that. And I think that's a really powerful space. And I love it too, like you shared, that Maria Shriver too is now embracing all this, talking about this. I think a lot of people in Hollywood, a lot of women in particular, are now starting to come out and be more vocal, which I think is so great. Jamie Lee Curtis is so open about it too. So I think it's a really great space. So share a little bit about what you're doing with that, what your plans are to help women in that, in talking about that with the age cage.
Well, the first thing I did was I wrote this TED Talk, and I'm kind of waiting till it's time to apply for the women's stage. And in the talk, I talk about first, I think before we can break out of the age cage, we have to recognize that there is one.
Yeah.
And where does that come from? And, it's in the culture. Like when we're little children, the fairy tales that we're told about aging women is they are the scary old witches that live by themselves in the forest, gobbling up little children. Or in the movies I grew up in, the older women were portrayed as cranky old maids, crazy old cat women, the beggar woman on the street, Apple Annie selling apples, and then I remember growing up with I had this beautiful Russian grandmother named Anya, and she mysteriously got younger every year. And our family thought it was so funny the way my grandmother lied about her age. But was it so funny? I mean, what I was taught was that age is something to be ashamed of, that it's a hindrance rather than a gift. And I think bringing this to light and looking at the stories and the beliefs that are all around us, there's some expression that men, let me see if I can get men age like fine wine and women like spoiled milk.
Oh, wow.
It's like we have an expiration date. And so I'm working on a workshop right now, and we're going to explore these stories we tell ourselves and that have been handed down in the culture. Even the words that we use in our culture to talk about older women, the word hag. When you look it up in the dictionary, it means an ugly old woman. But the truth is the word hag comes from the Greek word hagia, that means holy. And the word crone, which in the dictionary is a skinny, ugly old woman. And that word comes from crown. There was a time in ancient times when the goddess was worshipped, older women were revered. They were the medicine women and the high priestesses in the tribes. And in our culture, older women feel diminished while older men are distinguished. Older women feel invisible and worthless. So I'm really interested in helping women change their stories about aging and seeing the value in their gifts and what they have to offer.
That is so powerful. I mean, I'm captivated by him when I'm listening to you, because I love writing too, as I shared, and I didn't even know the meaning behind some of those words. So that is so enlightening, Wendi. And that just, as you're telling me, my whole body feels lighter. You think about the beauty of the words and the language when we really look behind it and see what it really means. That's really lovely, really lovely.
And then when we look at the stories and the stereotypes that we've been fed, once we're aware of it, we can start catching ourselves, like, I don't know about you, but I've been around some people and they'll say things like, well, at our age, we can't blah, blah, blah. And I just hate when people say that, because I believe that our words create our reality. I mean, of course, there's illnesses and there's things we have to deal with as we age, or almost at any age. But I feel like our words are so powerful. So instead of, what I try to do is when I hear somebody say, well, let's face it, the best is behind us or whatever.
Right.
I stop and I ask myself, is that true for me? Do I believe that? And then I reframe it to the best is yet to come or whatever, just being aware of the stories that are being told and looking at how you can change them. And it's very powerful to use I am statements. I am aging colorfully and joyfully, like to change the picture. Like I had a lot of people, beloved people in my family that seemed to get old before their time because of the depression they were dealing with and the thoughts in their heads and their low self-esteem. And I really want to help women transform that muck into magic, to quote my book.
That's so good. And that's what it's all about. I mean, just reframing that. And I was even thinking as you're talking, how beautiful it would be to wake up every morning with those I am statements as well, right? Reframing those thoughts, right?
Yes, absolutely. And catching ourselves. One of the paintings in my book, I don't know if you remember, but it's a woman's head. And it's like her head is opened up and it just says yak, 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 yak.
Yes.
We all have so much noise in our head, and the voice of the inner critic and the voice of society. And starting to like really pay attention to the voices and the messages we get about aging. So like I'm always looking for what I call ageless, cageless role models, like women that are aging in an exuberant and vibrant and passionate way. Like where I live in Ojai, there was a very famous artist. I don't know if you've heard of her. Her name is Beatrice Wood. And she was a potter who was known around the world. And I just loved her. She worked all the way up to, I think it was like 102 or 105 years old. And she said that her most productive years were between 85 and 105. So there's hope for all of us. And she was such a character. Like she was so exotic in how she dressed. And she said that the secret to her longevity was art books, chocolate, and young men. But I've been doing a lot of studying about this, and they say that scientific research has shown that the factor that contributes the most to long life is our attitudes. Our attitudes and belief about aging directly affect how we age. And so much of it is in our heads. So I'm sure a lot of your listeners are younger than I am. So it's a really good message for women, men too, at any age, to start really being aware of those things that we say to ourselves.
This is so true. It's interesting. I had never thought about my age much at all. I always embraced every decade, every season I was in, never really thought about it until the last couple of years. And now I'm approaching 60. And it's the first time that I really wow. I mean, and I don't feel my age. I still feel very, very young. And so this is really helping me too, that to not get caught up in a number or just to look forward and to reframe it in my own mind now.
Well, and I think we need examples. We're the first generation that's living this long, and so what used to seem really ancient, like 68 would really have seemed old, but now it's more like middle age, and I just read this article about all these really phenomenal actresses like Helen Mirren and I forget, there was a whole bunch of them that are now like 75, 76 and incredibly vibrant and active and just doing phenomenal. You don't they're ageless. They seem ageless. So, we're going to be developed. There's more role models for us, and then we can be the role models for younger women because, our culture is so youth obsessed that there are 18-year-old girls wanting Botox. Women think they're over the hill at 30 if they haven't done this or that. I mean, there's so much pressure. And I think it's really important to be having these conversations.
Yes. And these conversations with our daughters. I have 2 girls, and I think to have those conversations and to live the example too. I mean,
Yes.
just, and for me too, I always knew that, because I stayed home for many years and raised my kids. And once our youngest hit high school, I said to myself, what's next? I'm still young. I still have dreams and visions and
Of
ideas
course.
in my own mind that I want to still go do things. And so this is just so inspiring, Wendi. I love your message. I love your heart.
Oh,
It's
thank
just
you.
so powerful, just beautiful. So, so what is next? So you're planning on doing the TED Talk, and then you're planning on doing this workshop, correct? Right?
Yeah, I'm going to start. I'm working with another woman. We're creating this workshop for this community, really wonderful women's community in Chicago named Altar, Altar. And we're working on something for them. And I'm not sure, I just feel like a lot of new things are beginning, and I'm going to see, I love now, like getting out of my head and, like meditating on the grass, going for walks, and like I said, I'm a big asker. So like asking the universe how I'm meant to share my gifts, and then paying attention to what shows up. And one of the things that showed up is this wonderful mixed media class that I'm taking. And I love art because it gets me out of my head. For so many years, I was a writer and I had to write on demand and with deadlines. So the art kind of frees me up. So that's one of the things I'm doing. And been doing a lot of interviews with amazing women like yourself. And I don't know, I'm going to see what speaks to me. But this whole area of breaking out of the age cage and helping women deprogram ourselves from the limitations that society's put on us to our sex and our age. I just think that's really, really important. And kind of using the dragonfly paradigm for a way to re-examine age. And I'm going to write some articles about that. And I want to get the word out in a bigger way.
Well, I think it's beautiful. I think the symbol of it is beautiful, as well as the metaphor for what it represents. I was completely taken aback when I read your book, because I had no idea that dragonflies had that potential. We hear all the stories of the butterfly, the metamorphosis the caterpillar goes through, right? But not the dragonfly.
So I know, and they really have a powerful story. And, even like the words that we used to talk about aging in our culture, like we're middle age, we're old age, we're elder, seniors, none of that feels right. But like, what if we saw ourselves as a dragonfly, and rising up from the muck and into the magic of all that we've learned to be more of who we are, and maybe like to look at this time of life instead of to be a process of becoming more of who we are instead of less of what we were, because I think to reframe aging as a time when we really get to name and claim our true self and go through life through the eyes of our hearts, like in asking ourselves, like when somebody says, do you want to do this? And normal, maybe at another time in our lives, we go, yeah, because we should do that. That's the right thing to do. But stopping and putting your hand on your heart and saying, does this feel like a yes? Does this feel right in my body? Or am I just doing this because I've always been the nice girl that did everything for everyone else, And I think we've all been through that. And I think seeing, 50 and above or whatever age you're in as the time of allowing yourself to be more of who you are and making choices from your heart instead of pleasing everyone else.
Wow, I'm seriously almost speechless. That is just so
well, I'm not. I've been blabbing a lot.
That is just so good. Oh my gosh. It's just interesting because even as I, with my platform and putting it out there, what I do, who am I I don't like the word middle age. That word every time is like, bleh, like I trip over it, stumble over it. I don't even like it. So for you to sit here and say that, I'm thinking, okay, there's the freedom just to move right past that word, because I don't like it. It feels like it's a label, and so I love everything you're saying. It's just fabulous.
Well,
Wow.
thank you for giving me a place to say it. I really appreciate it.
Oh, I'm seriously going to go back and replay this several times, because there are so many golden nuggets mixed in all this. It's just really lovely.
Thank you.
Really lovely. Have I missed anything that you wanted to share? I know where you're headed and these different things that you're doing. Have we missed anything?
Well, I think I would just like to tell people that, I have a lot. I'm blessed. I used to think I was too sensitive, but I spent a lot of years feeling that way. But now I feel that sensitivity is a strength, and I'm able to use my intuitive abilities to help women tell better stories for themselves. So I guess that's something I'd like to put out there, that if somebody needs some help transforming their muck into magic and getting a higher perspective, I seem to have a gift for doing that, and it's a way I can be of service. And also, I'd like to give out my website.
Yes, please do.
Because you can sign up for my emails, and I don't send a lot because I'm not very disciplined to do them regularly. But when I get inspired, I write pretty uplifting, inspiring things. So my website is wendyknox.com, and my mother named me Wendi with a Y, but I had to change it and be original. So I'm wendyknox.com, WENDI Knox, KNOX.com. And if you go to my website, you'll see there's a link where you can go to my publisher's site to get the book if you're interested. It makes a really good gift for yourself, for someone else that could use some extra encouragement. And also on her website, there's cards and journals with my artwork on it. And on Instagram, I have videos I've been doing, like overcoming my fear of just casually doing videos. And I guess I'm now done being the goddess of shameless self-promotion. Thank you.
No, that's perfect. That's why you're here. And I'm going to put all of that in the show notes.
Okay, great.
And I just wanted to do a plug for your website, because it's beautiful. It's very well done. The colors are great. It's very welcoming. It's incredibly professional. You really have done a beautiful job with it. I love it.
Well, thank you. For years, I did advertising and branding for companies like Honda and Acura. And that's one thing, like I said, you have a lot of help when when you're doing your own messaging, it's a whole different story. So I'm glad you feel that way about it, because it's just not that easy to know what to say about yourself.
Right? It's easy to do it for other people. It's hard to do it for yourself. Yeah. It really is. I understand that. But you really have done a beautiful job, and it's very easy to navigate. It's very self-explanatory. I find all of your messages to be incredibly uplifting. Now, are you on Facebook as well?
Oh yeah, I'm on Facebook. I think it's called Wendi Knox Author. There's a link on my website that takes you to Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. So there's many ways to reach me, and I just want to see a world in which women recognize their magnificence and their magic, and know that being who they are is more than enough. We've all got these wounds, and I hope we can embrace the muck of our lives and, trust that when we're going through difficult times and passages and challenges, trust that there's some magic, there's some gift growing there. And it changes everything when you look at the process of transformation in that way.
Wow, Wendy, that is so fabulous. So true. When you get ready to do your course, are you going to post that on your Facebook or on your website? Will you promote
Yeah,
it
I'm
there?
not sure. It's all, I feel like I'm kind of in the cooking stage,
Okay.
I haven't figured out the final recipe,
Okay.
but I will definitely be announcing things. I did do a class called Creating Magic from Muck that I did online, and there were worksheets and stuff, and I'm thinking of posting that as something people can do on their own. I have, one of my problems is I have so many ideas, and I kind of have to wait to see which one bubbles up, because I'm not such a great multitasker. I like to focus on one thing and do it well. So
Well, and that's a gift too, to be able to do that, because I think it's so easy to go in so many directions, but I think to
well,
stay
there's
focused
so
like that.
much to do, and
Right. Yeah.
I'm just gonna see which urging of my heart is the loudest. So.
Well, great. Well, I just appreciate you so much. Thank you for saying yes to me. It's been wonderful getting to know you and to hear your heart. You have inspired me, and even today sitting here, this is just such a gift to remind me and encourage me as well to keep going and celebrate all that is, celebrate our age. But I wanted to read, I love so much when you say, about the dragonfly, and I think you probably already said it earlier, but and there her wings magically unfurl. It turns out they've been growing all that time. That's when I got it. I'm a dragonfly, and my wings were growing the whole time. I was stuck in the muck.
Yep.
Beautiful. Just beautiful.
Well, I think all our wings are growing, and we just have to be kind and loving to ourselves as we're going through the muck of life. There's a lot of muck in the world right now,
Sure
but
is.
I feel that there's also a lot of magic, and we just need to really be kind to ourselves and get quiet and allow ourselves to ask to be shown what magic there is, and what are the gifts even in a really difficult situation.
I think that's so great, because as you're talking, I'm thinking all the change that we've all had in our lives over those last few years, especially for many reasons. Well, we don't have to be afraid of it. Like you say, you just ask the universe, ask God, trust the journey. And I think you're such an inspiration that way. We can reinvent ourselves. We don't have to be afraid of it, right? We can step
And
forward.
even if we're allowing ourselves to be afraid of it, I mean, I went through really difficult time with my son, where I was very afraid. He struggles with addiction, and I had a lot of fear and worry and anxiety. And there were days when I would just lie on my grass and breathe and imagine my pain and my worry going into the grass, growing, new life. But I would sometimes I'd give myself what I call a muck day, a day of allowing myself to feel the feelings. People are so afraid to feel their feelings, and like there's something wrong with them. But I think it's part of the natural process, just like trees drop their leaves so that new buds can come. Us crying or shedding our old selves to grow new selves, like the dragonflies, So I feel like allowing yourself the time and the space to go through those processes with kindness and gentleness and patience. Just like we need to kind of have that for our world. I think our world is reconfiguring itself, and all this darkness that's been coming up is to be released, to allow more light to shine through.
Wonderful.
That's the way I see it. It might be kind of Pollyanna, but it's working for me.
I love that perspective. I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'll take it. And I think that's really great, just to talk about feeling your feelings. I think that's really powerful as well. And wow, you are such a light. There's so much depth and love and encouragement and a whole lot of soul to you. And
thank you.
Thank you.
You see it because that's what you are too.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Gosh, you're going to make me cry. Thank you. I just thank you for saying yes. I think that's been the biggest gift. A couple of women that I've reached out to that I have no idea who they are. I've just heard you all on a podcast, and what a gift that says who you are, to say yes to me. So thank
Well,
you. You have a powerful message to share, and I really want everybody to hear this.
thank you so
It's
much.
beautiful. And go buy her book. It's awesome.
Thank you.
From muck to magic. It's just beautiful. It is an uplifting story. And I think the other thing in closing that I want to say to Wendi, what I love about it is that whenever we're going through hard things, like it's hard to pick up another book on what we need to do with lots of words, and to be able to look at it. I think I shared that. I know you mentioned it. To be able to flip through these pages, it's like honey to the soul. Like it's just, it's light, it's beautiful, it's soothing, it's uplifting. It's just beautiful. So very well done.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay.
Yes.
We have to
Thank
stay
you.
in touch.
Yes.
Okay. All
Thank
right.
you so much. Thank you for being here.